Hey guys, welcome to the Neglected Podcast. This podcast is not to change your mind, but to invite you into somebody else's narrative. This is a podcast to give a voice to the neglected. It is also an opportunity for all of us to engage.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Neglected Podcast. My name is Nick Schultz. You can hit me up at Schultzy Time. We're at For the Neglected. We're here at City Church with my producer, Quinn. Quinn, it's been a while too, man. We haven't done this for like a month. I feel a little rusty, but you're good. You're on top of your game. And we have a very special guest. Always have a special guest. And her name is Miss Gia Wilson. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
And let's see how to explain how we got connected. We have a mutual friend who you work with and who's friends of mine. And I was specifically looking to have a guest on here that had similar life situations and circumstances that you've been through. And I reached out to my friend because it would be kind of weird. We're friends on Facebook and we've met on a couple occasions, but not had an hour-long, let's talk about each other's lives conversation kind of thing.
I did that thing where you get a friend request and you're like, oh, I think I know this person. Sure.
Yeah. I don't even remember how it happened, but we met at some function and friends on Facebook, and I was like, man.
The rest is history.
The rest is, history. So I thought it'd be cool to interview, but thought it'd be weird if I just sent you a Facebook request and was like, hey, here's podcast.
That might be weird.
Why I want you to interview, even though we haven't talked a whole lot yet. So had a mutual friend be like, yep, she's cool. I think you should.
There you go.
Get you two hooked up and talk, and we did, and I think it's going to be really good. I think you have some amazing things you've experienced and went through in life, currently still are, that can help a lot of people that are going through the same thing, and for people who don't understand that some of the stuff you're going to be talking about. So I appreciate you being here.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Open book kind of stuff. So let's start off like we always do with our guests. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, your culture, your family life, where you grew up, and paint a picture for us of what that was like for you?
Sure. So I am from Syracuse, New York, born and raised. Have 3 older brothers and a little sister that's 12 years apart from me. To paint you a picture, I was that kid in school who wore the skirts and didn't wear makeup, had really long hair. When I was a kid, that hair was always in my face because I was a tomboy as well. So always in the mud, always trying to keep up with the boys, always wanting to do what the boys did. But in school, I wasn't really picked on or anything major. You know, obviously the occasional made fun of for skirts and all of that stuff and being religious. Grew up Pentecostal. Okay. So if you know a little bit about that, it's very strict on what you can and can't do and wear, say, all of that church like 5 times a week. Side note, I love how I grew up because it's made me the person I am now.
So the clothing was not necessarily a choice. It was
more of like, this is what you're doing. Okay. You know, kind of like.
But the hair in the face was your choice, though.
Hair in the face was definitely, that was a look for me. It was cute at the time. I was like 10, so. Yeah. But yeah, so also, I was definitely the mom of the group, at school and such. So I'd be the person, everybody is coming in for class and putting their books down and pulling stuff out of their backpacks. And here I am just like pulling out snacks and Band-Aids and like, does anybody need anything? So that was me.
So did you feel like you grew up in a bubble? Was it all people of the same kind of faith from the church, same community, same race? Like, what was that diversity in your life when you were real young?
So really young, my old church was located kind of in the middle of the ghetto of Syracuse. So growing up, I really learned other cultures and diversity. I think once we took account like how many different cultures were within the community, right? And there was over probably like 20 or 30 nationalities, different types of nationalities. Just Syracuse was like a boiling pot for people that are coming for refuge and all that. So it was a really cool place to grow up and learn different cultures really easily. And at a young age, being exposed to that, we would go walk through the ghetto and just ask people if they wanted us to pray for them. Like that's kind of how I grew up. So.
And so what is your family kind of lineage and background? Do they come from different countries? Where do you trace back to?
Yeah. So my nanu and nana, so on my mom's side, my grandparents, they are from Italy, supposedly, as the story goes. But my nanu is actually a refuge who escaped, I believe, to like Greece or something like that, and then came to New York, came to the States.
Right.
So Yeah. And then my dad's grandparents, I think they came from somewhere. I don't know. Basically Italian,
Okay.
so we're pretty rooted Italian family. That's the kind of nationality background. And then my parents got into the religion aspect through their cousin when I was probably about 4 or 5.
Okay. Unpack that for me a little bit, what that was like for you. When you're young, you're probably just doing whatever your parents say. You don't have too much of a mind of your own. But then what was it doing to frame your beliefs or your mindset, who you were? And then when was a point where things, you just started thinking, maybe not like not saying you didn't like what was going on, but you had a mind of your own. You were a teenager, something was going on. You were challenging things.
Yeah, I would say, when you're young, you just do what your parents say. And for a lot of people, I was the kid that just did what my parents told me to do. So, I never really thought that I was a lesbian until I was probably in college and older and really had a mind of my own. That separation from my parents, especially when I moved out of Syracuse to Buffalo after my second year of college, that was very mind-opening. But yeah, it was really something I just didn't think of. I wasn't allowed to think that way. And so it wasn't until I was like, oh, I have crushes on all my brother's girlfriends, or, oh, I kind of want to kiss this girl who's in my high school class. You can't think like that in the church. Like, it's just not something you think of. It's of the devil, and that's okay, how people feel that way. But it wasn't until I really hit college where I started challenging the way I thought and what I believed and questioning, because I don't think you grow unless you are questioning what you're currently in. So I started questioning my religion and saying, well, why do we wear skirts? And a lot of it has explanations. And when it comes to being gay, I prayed about it. When I finally realized and just accepted that of myself, I prayed about it at the time. I was probably 18, and I would cry all the time. I struggled early in high school, and I just didn't tell anybody. Went through a weird stage of not eating and just not knowing kind of what to believe in. Didn't really say anything until I was about 17, 18.
To anybody?
To anybody, really. I mean, I shared it with like a few close friends, but my parents didn't really know until I was probably 16 or 17.
And when you say you're praying, are you praying like you still have the faith you grew up with? Like you're praying to that same God of that faith, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a little different. So in high school, yes, I was at the time, praying to God and really thinking that I was sinning and a terrible person because I was gay, and I couldn't tell my parents. And it wasn't until I was dating my now ex-wife, I think 2013, I came out to my parents on Easter. Yeah. I was like, the Lord has risen.
He has risen gay. Indeed. Well done. Yes.
Yeah. They weren't thrilled about that. But I was like, it's at this point where I just cannot hide that about myself. It's who I am. And, when I prayed about it, I was like, I don't want this. Nobody wants to go through neglect, essentially.
So help me understand, because I would love for you to give people an idea of what that is like emotionally or mentally for you to have those feelings, not understand them, know that you can't share them. If you do share them, you're going to get ostracized, kicked out, judged, who knows what. You don't even know what's going to happen. And you're going through this during, puberty years, teenage years, where your identity,
you're
no matter
what, you're confused.
Whatever your sexual orientation is, going through puberty, you're already messed up anyway because of hormones. Like, what is that doing to you and how you view yourself?
It was really hard. I'm not going to lie. It was hard in the moment. It was hard to move past knowing that I was taking a risk coming out to my parents, knowing that they wouldn't accept me, hoping that they would, but ultimately knowing that they probably weren't going to. It was hard to do it, but it just took that leap of faith to really put myself out there and trust the process that eventually they would come around. Because my big thing is everything is temporary, right? So the person that I was when I was 18 is still in there and still that same person, but that temporary point of my life, that is just what I kept playing and just saying, okay, this is not going to be like what it is forever. They are not going to not love me and neglect me forever. I just had that faith. I don't know why. I just knew that this is not going to be forever. This is only temporary.
But for you, you were growing up thinking like, I'm wrong. Like,
yeah. I mean, I grew up and I literally thought I was the worst person ever. And I was like, well, why can't God just like take this away? And then I finally when I was in prayer once, I was just told, I believe I was told that it's okay, that He's going to love you no matter what. So that's kind of how I moved past it.
When did that point happen, do you think, when you were like, I'm wrong? God doesn't like this. Nobody's going to like this. I need to change. It needs to go away. God, take it away. To, hey, I'm still loved, and it's not wrong. I am who I am, and He made me this way. Was there a defining moment, or was it in college, or how did you reach that?
That's an excellent question. I don't think there was one defining moment. I think it's when I finally just was okay with it. There wasn't a like, okay, all of a sudden this is it, I would definitely say it took a couple of years to really feel comfortable in my own skin after knowing that I was a lesbian.
And was it after you told your parents and you came out, or was it before then that you were comfortable?
Oh no, it was way after I told my parents. I still in a way felt that I was wrong because I'm a people pleaser, right? I wanted my parents to accept me. I wanted to feel like I was in the right. But I think, they Bible beat. Just people in general, my parents did at the time love them to death, still love them. Mm-hmm. They're wonderful people. But at the time, when I came out, they did the whole, this is why you're wrong, and here's a million quotes why. And I'm like, well, if I could change it, I would, but I can't, you know? And so it really took some time to just say, okay, let me meditate on what I believe, even after I came out to my parents. And I think just over time, it finally felt like at peace, Like there was just clarity that said, you're going to be okay. Your parents are going to come around, but more so, be happy with who you are. Because ultimately, I wasn't happy with who I was for years. And it was because of the fact that I just never accepted who I was because of what I was taught, because of what I was told, And
so what was the fallout from when you did do that? You did the Easter miracle for your family there. and
Easter miracle.
You came out, and what was I'm sure it was super difficult, but what was the even longer ramifications of with your parents? I'm sure, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like maybe their guilt and confusion because now they have to explain it, or it's going to travel, and it's like, what's wrong with her? What did we do wrong? What did the church do wrong?
Exactly
what happened?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay, I got you then.
Yeah, and you put the words right in my mouth.
And I told you I wasn't going to. Sorry.
No, so that's exactly what happened. I think in a way my parents were ashamed of who I was because it's not who they wanted me to be, especially because it was considered a sin in the church. My parents did not come around until after my ex and I told him that we were pregnant. Well, my ex was pregnant, but we planned to have a kid. That was the whole point to telling them, we wanted to do this. And so I don't think they came around until after he was born.
Okay.
They came to visit. And, I lost a lot of people. I lost contact with a lot of people who were in the church. Some stuck around, and that's great. I'm super thankful for the friends I still have. But ultimately, it was, you got to make that sacrifice. And I was okay making that sacrifice to come out to my parents to talk about who I was,
Did you go back to church at any point after you made the decision and told your parents and people found out?
Yeah, actually, when I lived in Augusta, I found a church that was a LGBT church friendly, and everybody there was majority of gay people, so that was super welcoming to know that there are churches around. Since then, I will be super honest and clear that I still struggle with what I believe because there is a higher power. I still truly believe that, and I truly have a lot of core beliefs from what I grew up in. So does that answer your question?
Man, there's so many questions I have, which is great. Because I told you I come from the church background. I was a pastor, and part of this is so intriguing because a lot of these conversations don't happen with people in the church, with people outside the church that go through this stuff. It's having opinions on them and like, this is what should happen. This is all this and that, but actually sitting down with someone who struggles with all this and talking through it and really just gaining their experience, not trying to convince anybody of anything, but just tell me what it's like. Like for me, that's what's so intriguing about this is I don't know what this is like. And you're giving me a window into.
I still don't know what it's like.
Well, that's
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, that's what's intriguing. That's part of my follow-up questions are just like, how you view God, and because of what you went through, do you feel like you can find truth in who God actually is? Like, can he be the God of the Bible because
right.
what it says in it that you agree with or don't agree with, or what other people put into you that you
right.
got hurt with? Or is it a God of an actual religion? Or is it just like, maybe the truth isn't in a religion we have here, but he is out there? And like, how do you find all that when you are
right.
being told that you're wrong?
Right. So no matter what you do, it's like you're wrong. And that's the crazy part. And what I think of is there's so many religions out there, right? There's so many different walks of life that people have that, they have Buddha or whatever it might be. It doesn't really matter about the religion. It matters about the relationship. So if I know I'm continuing my relationship with God, that whatever higher power it might be, the universe, I'm meditating. I want to do what's right. I want to continuously walk in faith, but I don't want to put a label on what my religion is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And then like the natural question for me is just like, how do you decipher then what's right? What truth is ultimately, but then what's right? And how much of it is a moral thing? How much is it for you? Is it just like, I don't know exactly who God completely is or where to get him, but I know what is right or wrong and how I view myself or treat other people, like how you've been able to discover that or still are.
Yeah. Well, that is exactly what growth is. Continuously trying to grow who you are as a person. And that goes with your faith and what you believe. I'm still learning. I'm still meditating. I'm still understanding what's my right can be different to what your right is, So obviously there's rules, guidelines that everybody should follow, be kind to your neighbor, all of that kind of good stuff. But ultimately, I'm still learning what I truly believe and how I want to live my life, Yeah. So more recently, I have been putting seeds of growth out there. I want to continuously grow. I am growing, So I want to speak positivity. I want to put good vibes out there. I don't want to have that negative energy. And so no matter what I'm doing, I'm constantly thinking of that. So no matter what religion I'm in, I'm constantly thinking of how I can grow and how I can help others do the same thing, because my story is not the same as another lesbian's or gay person's story, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm saying right now. I hope it impacts someone to just keep going. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, that's what I love about doing these conversations, is because people need to continually have them with other people that are different. Like you're saying, like you're our first gay or lesbian guest on the podcast. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But at the same time, like you would say, and I think some of our other guests, Giovanna or somebody is like, I don't speak for all African Americans. Right. I'm not your one African American, and you can put all that on me. There's so many different people that are lesbian or gay, and they're different faiths and beliefs and their lifestyles and all that stuff. Like, you are not as wonderful as you are, you're not the spokeswoman for every single lesbian and experiences and stuff like that, which I appreciate you saying.
Well, I've heard other stories too. That's the crazy part, is mine's like a walk in the park, my story, based off of other things I've heard. It's just crazy the things that gay people have to go through to just feel welcome and feel comfortable in their own skin. And, if I could say anything, it's just be accepting of everybody. Why does it matter? Why does it matter where we come from or what we believe? Why can't we just love each other? Yeah,
there's this weird struggle, just I can speak from within the church and Christianity or other faith, where, there's, for some reason, whatever happened in our culture is just like, if you accept someone who is gay, like you are accepting every single little thing about them, and you're agreeing with everything that they stand. And like, you don't do that with anybody. You don't agree 100% with anybody. And for some reason, acceptance has crossed over to, you are in full support of every single thing this person does with their life. And like, the homosexuality has driven such a wedge in between that. And it's, it's not your fault for doing that. And I think one of the struggles is, which I'd love to get your opinion on, is how people who aren't gay view just being homosexual in general. Did you feel like, and you can only speak for yourself, but do you feel that it is a choice for you, or do you got to the point where it's just like, this is who I am, I don't even know if I can define it, but I am lesbian, or I was born this way, or is it a preference? Is it a choice? How do you view it personally, and what do you think about it?
Well, my question to you would be, do you like to be neglected?
Right.
Nobody does.
Sure.
Nobody likes to be neglected. Do I want to be a lesbian for the rest of my life? Well, yeah, I do. But do I want to be neglected? Do I want people to look at me differently? No, I don't. So if it was a choice, I would choose not to be neglected. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly believe that it's not a choice that you're given, at birth or when I'm 18, when I'm 30. It doesn't really matter what your age is. It's not something that I can just turn on, turn off, And I think a lot of people just have this false belief that we can just turn it off.
It's a switch.
Yeah, like, oh, well, my favorite, if I could write a book about all the things that people tell us to do.
You might need to.
Oh my gosh, it would be hilarious. It would be a great book. My favorite one is when people say, well, it's okay that you like her, but just don't be with her. And I'm like, okay, because that makes it better. You know what I mean? They have this false assumption that, I can't just turn it off and not like somebody or not love somebody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you're acting on it does not make a difference if I'm still feeling that way, And then to put on top of that, my favorite is when I get categorized with someone who is going to kill somebody. So, oh, well, I think about it. But if you do it, that's bad. Don't compare me with a murderer or something. It's not a sin to love somebody. It doesn't matter of their orientation.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the struggle with views on that. It's love the person, but hate,
just don't do anything.
But hate their choice, and hate that they're stuck in this choice, and that's just it's a really rough way to start off a relationship with somebody when the beginning point is, hey, I'm going to try to love you, but also know that I hate kind of your choice or who you are.
Yeah, I get that.
And try to love you through it. It's well, that's not the best place to start off saying you care about somebody or want to understand them.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do, and not just to make it easy, I think my dad came to visit last time, and I had the best time with my dad this visit. But ultimately, it's okay, let's agree to disagree. We don't have to agree on our views, but ultimately we can look past that. We can talk about it too. We don't have to struggle and say, oh, well, this is what you should be doing. That's what he started off with 6 years ago, right? But now it's more of well, let's just talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Oh, you don't believe that? Okay, cool. I don't believe what you believe, but that's okay. Let's move past it. Love each other. You're my daughter. I don't really care, Yeah.
So. It's just ultimate way to love somebody is to just give them compassion, time, listening, be there for them, and I'm not trying to change you.
Right.
And I'm not trying to tell you what's wrong with you every single time either to make me feel better that you're going to be how I want you to be.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so tough. I would love to know just is that, do you see yourself on the LGBTQ kind of that chart there, you identify as lesbian?
You know what I would say to that? I don't think it really matters what we identify as. Once again, it just kind of goes back to
do you feel like
putting
you have
a
to
label.
though for people?
So what do you identify yourself as?
I would see that's what's crazy. It's I wouldn't want to. So when I see letters and stuff like that, that's kind of what I'm getting towards is because you are in this other camp of not heterosexual, it's okay, I need to know exactly what you are so that I know how to approach you.
Yeah. So it's not about your identity or what label you want to put on it. If I'm a lesbian or if I'm bisexual, what does it matter? You're straight, good for you. Nobody's asking you if you're straight or not, or if they find out, they're ooh, how long have you been straight?
That's what's crazy about it to me, because when I think about it, it's if somebody asks you who are you as a person, or tell me about yourself, for me, I'm not going to go, hey, I'm heterosexual.
You're not going to.
I'm Caucasian.
Yeah.
Those
I'll be I'm a badass mom. That's my first thing I usually say.
Well, that's what's crazy. But when you look at it from the other side of what other people are going through, it's well, so, you're not walking down the street and thinking to yourself, my first identity is I'm lesbian, or I'm gay, or I'm this. It's like,
right.
Everybody wants to be just like, I'm human.
Right.
I'm
I'm just a person.
I'm a person, and we or the church, you put that on other people where they have to identify themselves, so you know what you're dealing with and how to navigate those waters and be careful and like all this kind of stuff. Where on the other side, it's like you're not doing any of that.
Right. They expect it of us, but at the same time, they're not doing it themselves.
Would you feel comfortable going to a church like here in Savannah? Like somebody invited you, I invited you, anybody was like, hey, would you, like, what's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. There's, especially because I have a kid, I think I actually have gone to a couple churches here in Savannah when I first moved. I tested out a couple different ones. And then, when I moved out of my ex's, I was like, well, it's important to have structure. It's important, I think, because how I've grown and how I was raised, I think it's important to have that structure, especially for kids, but you shouldn't push it on them. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that Connor can go and learn, that's my son, Connor can go and learn about God or whatever. And when he's old enough, he can figure out what he believes on his own.
He can choose.
He can choose. And I don't think it's about teaching him that this is the only way and this is what we believe. It's more of like, well, here, why don't we question these things? And what do you feel like you believe? Let's talk about it, So I have gone, and would I go again? Yeah, I'm sure I would, because I think that's a deep part of me that still feels like it needs to be a part of my life. It's just finding the right one where people accept you,
And that's
that's the hardest part.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, what would be the most important thing for you to know about a church going in before you actually went in? Is it just an acceptance thing? Is it a...
No, so when I'm looking at churches a lot of times I will Google them, and then I'll go to see what their mission statement is and like what they truly believe at their core, because what they truly believe at their core can be different than, what they're preaching. So it shouldn't be, but at the same time, if you go read like, what is it? The one with the little, the one with the little fire.
The fire?
The fire symbol.
The Methodist church?
Methodist. Yeah. If you actually go and read like their...
I grew up Methodist, by the way.
Yeah. If you read their statement, it's like LGBT. No. So it's like, well, I mean, it's hard to go to a church that's Methodist and know that their core belief is really not for you. So that's where I struggle. And so I do meditate and pray and all of that. It's just part of me, I think, would go more so for Connor, if anything.
Yeah. That's so intriguing to me, just coming from the church background. And I mean, would you be able to feel comfortable if, like you said, you knew a church was against, or they didn't believe,
right,
or it was sinful to be homosexual, but do you ever feel like they can still love you and you would still feel comfortable going there, even if like their core beliefs, like you still ultimately wouldn't feel accepted? Or like, how do you balance that out?
That's a great question that I don't have an answer to, because I'm still figuring it out. Okay. Ultimately, there's people, and that's, if you go to church, great. I'm not saying that if you're going to church, you hate all the lesbians and the gay people.
Right.
I think that's where it's finding the balance of, okay, maybe a general feel of people agreeing, but at the same time, you don't really get that unless it's like a predominantly gay church ran by probably a gay pastor or, female pastor, whatever it might be, so, and I haven't seen that here in Savannah.
Gotcha.
Like I said, that's something I did see in Augusta when I lived there. So,
well, you mentioned, I want to get back to your son. You mentioned your son.
Yes,
I would love for you to just share how he came about, as much as you want to share about your previous, marriage, or like how you decided to have a son, what it took to do that, what that was like, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. So I think it's hard for a lot of gay couples to figure out how to have kids and what the best route is. There's no easy way to do it, especially knowing that you're going to have to explain to them when they're older that they have gay parents. But what I'm hoping for, and, really thinking it's already happened, that it's normal. It's normal to have two moms, two dads, grandparents that you live with, aunts, uncles. It doesn't matter who your parents, quote unquote, are. Now look, I'm in a divorced relationship with a co-parent who's amazing and with a girlfriend. So it's like we have to navigate these things that we didn't really expect to. So you just have to go from there.
When you were younger and you came out and you felt comfortable with yourself, did you ever think it was possible to have a child? Did you want a child? Did you think it was going to be like too difficult? Did you really desire to be a mother? Like, what has that done for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say when I was younger, like I said earlier, I mean, I was always the mom of the group,
Right.
and it's just very natural. You know, my mom has 5 kids, so it's one of those things where it's just you have that natural ability to be a parent. Did I think I would be here at this point of my life? No, how things turned out, but you know, you can't really try to forecast how everything's gonna pan out. But yeah, I wanted a kid, and I also wanted a career, and it's just what I wanted, and I pursued it, you know.
And how old is he now?
He's 3.
He's 3. And how old are you, if that's all right to ask?
God, how dare you?
I know, I'm so sorry.
Just kidding. 28.
28. Okay. So you were thinking child more in your 30s kind of thing?
Yeah, I actually didn't really want to have a kid so soon. Love you, Connor, if you ever see this when you're older. I love you to death. But, you know, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to have kids so soon, you know. I would say so quickly, but just the situations I was in, you know, my ex being in the military, it's easier to get married and get the benefits and all that kind of stuff. And I moved drove cross country from New York to California to go get married and to live in Monterey. Like, who wouldn't want to do that, you know? So I don't think you have to plan out every step of your life, you know? It just kind of happens how it happens.
Gotcha.
So
you are in a relationship now.
Yes.
And you have a child, and you said both co-parenting has been great.
Yeah,
she's going great. So paint me a picture of what it's like to be a gay young woman with a 3-year-old child dating someone here in the South in Savannah.
It's exhausting. I will tell you that much. Being a single parent, like, credit to every single parent adult out there with kids. Even if you have more than one kid, kudos to you, hats off, because one is exhausting.
I got 4.
Yeah, good luck. I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, it's definitely challenged me to just, one, be a better person, be the best version of myself that I can possibly be, you know, and that's for me, for him. You know, I wasn't happy last year when I was going through the whole divorce. I hit rock bottom, and it was like the worst point of my life. But what keeps you going is you put one foot in front of the other, and you're like, I have to do this. So being successful, you know, and balancing a relationship and a kid, it's exhausting. But honestly, it's also let me travel to more than 22 places just last year. You know, I just took a moment to reflect on 2019. Because you're like, this has been the craziest year of my life, right? Complete change. So I took the time to reflect, because I'm a huge reflector. I think it's super important to reflect yearly, monthly, daily, like you should. So
let me write that down.
just like take notes. No, so I put 2019 year in review. And so I actually, let's see.
Oh, you got something?
Yeah, I got it right here. Like 2019 year in review. I brought this.
You're not
I
lying.
wasn't, yeah. So basically, I just did the highlights of my life, you know, where I traveled to. I went to Berlin, Germany, Mykonos, like Greece, Barcelona. Like, I went to all these places in Europe. And then I also traveled a ton of places in Florida, you know, taking Connor with some of these places. I went and saw some dolphins, you know, saw some things that I just never thought I would see. And then I also wrote a list of firsts. Okay. So the first time I did certain things, and I just went on and on and on about that. So I think it's truly important, like, to not focus about how your life is just changing dramatically, but to focus on, like, okay, what can my life become? What do I want to see happen in my life? And then telling myself that I'm going to accomplish it no matter what. That's what's been most important. Sorry, I'm like, oh,
no,
don't hit the table.
No, you're good. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And with Connor, it's just been, you know, creating a routine and just letting him know that all of his parents and guardians love him. You know, we ran into my ex once with my girlfriend and, you know, Connor ran into my ex, and it was great. We went out to dinner right after, you know, we saw her at the mall, and I was like, hey, you want to take Connor and just walk around? Like, go for it. You know, it's not her scheduled day, but it doesn't matter. Like, you should never have to look at that. You should just be able to communicate easily. And so that's what it's like. And living in the South, you know, it's not really much different than anywhere else. I think people are at the point where they can be respectful of, you know, gay people in general. So I don't, you know, get trash thrown at me. Thank God that I don't, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, just how you feel, or any experiences, whether
I just
good
ramble. You see me just like go off on a tangent.
No, you're
Sorry,
good.
Just
You're good.
refocus me.
You're the guest. You can say whatever you want. Is just your experience.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that. So
Right.
part of me is just understanding like what someone like you with walking around with another female, maybe holding hands, and you have a three-year-old with you, and
we
people.
We definitely get looks occasionally, but I think a lot of them are very positive. Like we were at a restaurant eating breakfast once, and the waitress turns to us and she's like, "Y'all look so cool." And it was just my girlfriend Connor and myself. We were just eating. We're like, "Thank you." So I think it's a different day and age than it was 10 years ago, where people would be like, "Ew, gross, lesbians," or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, and the South doesn't really change that. I think if anything, they're more welcoming, especially Savannah, because we're just a little melting pot of different cultures and different age groups, and really progressive. So I do like that.
Well, good. And I know you mentioned before when we talked to, just at least with the current job you have, like it was important for you when you were looking to do what you wanted to do, that you had an employer and a company that was going to be for you, that was not going to be judgmental. You were going to be accepted, because ultimately that helps you thrive and do your job better.
Yeah, that is true.
And how important has that kind of been for you?
It has been extremely important. And so I'm a firm believer of, thoughts become things, and what you put out there is what you're going to get. So before I even moved, I did all my research. I was already in real estate, and I was like, I'm going to, go figure out what I want to do, probably join a team so I can get my feet wet and all that. And so I did all the research, top 3 companies at the time, and I dug a little deeper, and I just saw, am I allowed to say who I work for?
As long as they don't care, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So I work for Keller Williams now, and they're not going to care that I say that, but I work for Don Callahan. And so I saw his page, and I was going through the comments. And so, our motto is, well, at the time, his motto, and mine now, sell houses, have fun, and give back, right? So my thing was doing all the community stuff with my church. I was like, ooh, I like this giving back part. And then it says, have fun. And so if anybody knows me, they know that I'm just like a big ball of energy and fun. And I just love, love on everybody, bring gifts, whatever it might be. So I was like, all right, I like that. And then sell houses. I'm like, well, I know how to do that too. So and then I read the comments that was just like, we love how much this person cares. Don is so, down to earth, and he gives back to the community. And I saw a group picture, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to be a part of that group. So when I moved here, I interviewed them. It took like 2 months. And at the first time I sat down with Don, he's like, well, we're not really hiring, but we're always looking for talent. And I was like, listen, you're going to hire me, okay? But, I confidently said that inside. And then I was just like, cool, okay.
I'll see you in a few,
Yeah. So it took a couple months. They were traveling and whatnot. But I actually did. So I wanted to reassure myself that I was aligned with the right people. And I went and interviewed with another company, and I was like, well, let me test this out and see what they say. Sat down. It felt so different to sit down. It was like this business attire, right? Everybody's, and the guy kept looking at the boss, and the boss just would ask occasional questions, but it would mostly come from the guy, and he would like look over and make sure she was approving all the stuff. And so I just felt so weird, whereas with Don and Laura, I sat down and they're like, okay, tell me about yourself, blah, blah, blah. It just felt right. So when I got the call to say I didn't join the team, or they didn't want me to join the team from the other company, I was like, whew, what a relief.
You were good.
Yeah, I was like, okay, clearly not a good fit. And so then when Don and Laura offered me a position, I was just like, yes, please. So the best thing about them has been just the growth that they have given me and shown me and taught me. So
yeah, they're awesome people. Love them.
And not just in business, like they care about your life too. They want you to have work-life balance. So they constantly are checking in, making sure, we meet weekly and have individual meetings, team meetings. So it's just, man, it's a blessing.
Hey, if Don is willing to have all of my children come over to a party of his and hang out and feed them and let them have fun, he's awesome.
It's definitely a work kid-friendly environment. I bring Connor in all the time, and he just runs around and bothers everybody. But, everybody loves it. Like, Connor's like the cutest little kid too. So, I mean, like, he's got that going for him. But, he'll come in and he'll say, hi, Jesse, hi, Laura, so it's cute to just be able to have that.
I think it's really interesting how you ended up there, how you're thriving there, but it also, the way you arrived there is you kind of combined all the things that you've learned and you're passionate about. Like it's who you are as a person, it's being accepted, but you even mentioned like it was important that they gave back, and you got that from your church. So even regardless of some of the difficult things or the pain that's happened there, like you were able to, they built something inside of you that was good. It was positive, that they care about other people and did want to give back, regardless of maybe what some of their views didn't line up. But like you had that instilled in you, and to see all of that kind of be a part of you is really neat. It's not It's not wasted, Right.
And now as an adult, all those values I had, it made me who I am. So I am so thankful to have gone through that religion and in that church, and the support I did have, and the people I knew, and the compassion that I built. That's exactly why I do what I do. So.
And what are some of the ways, we'll kind of get to my closing question a little bit, but I would love to know just what are your favorite ways to give back or be a voice for people or just serve your community? What kind of gets your juices flowing and how you help other people?
So one, I love my job because that's the ultimate giving back, is to be able to be a part of a family's life and to teach them. One, it can be, here's the process of how you can make your dream a reality, right? So they dream of buying a house and dream of buying an investment property, but they don't know how to get there. And so my favorite part is to just be that mentor, to be that consultant through the process. It feels so rewarding when they close on a house and they've got their keys and they're like, take a picture of us. We need to have this for our memory, That right there is probably one of the most rewarding things. Yes, it makes money, but at the same time, it's not about the money. Like if I made $1 every transaction, I still don't care. I love what I do because it's giving back to a family's memory, And it's also for investors, it's building wealth for them. For the community, I love what we do at the office too. Food drives, going to put out a stand and giving out hot dogs, like stuff that I did when I was in the church. It just reflects right into what my job is now. It's crazy. And then the one thing I learned from my parents, they weren't very wealthy. I got a lot of hand-me-down stuff, but they gave of their time. So they would go pick people up, go bring them to the grocery store, whatever it was. They gave their time. They invited strangers to Sunday dinner. Like, you know how many times I've ate meals with people I don't even know? Like, I've never even met them. My mom would be like, oh, Johnny's coming over for dinner today. And we're like, Ma, who is that? But that's what I love. And so the job I'm in, I love giving of my time. And two, I want to give back and give, the things I make, the money I make. I want to put that into, my goal is to have a grant for my old high school. Like I'm putting it into existence right now. I'm speaking the words.
You are. It's going to be out there.
2020. I'm gonna create a grant essentially. So money I make, right? Set aside some. I don't actually know how this works. I haven't really looked into it.
It's a dream right now. It's all
good.
Yeah,
it's a dream. It's a goal of mine. But yeah, I want to give back of money I make and give a scholarship to kids, not a grant, scholarship program to my old high school. So.
Wow.
I will do that. It's going to happen. I just need to figure out how. But
that's all right.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt you will. So.
Oh no, yeah. Pretty much anything I say I want to do, because the worst thing is breaking your own promise. So I don't want to be the person that has just false words or speaking things and then just not holding myself accountable. Like that's just not me. So if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
You are going to do it. I believe you.
I'm going to do it.
You're like staring up. Right through me right now. Like, I believe you. I'm a believer.
Look into my eyes.
I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Well, I would love for you to kind of share like a challenge as we wrap up here of what can someone, especially that hasn't experienced what you have in life, and you can, kind of go wherever you want with this, but it's especially someone who has struggled either with identity or being rejected or neglected, especially with just your sexual orientation or how you identify with that. And what can someone, especially coming from the church background, someone that doesn't feel that same way, but they want to understand or they want to reach out. Like when you were struggling, what could somebody do? How could they have made your life better by doing what? What can the average listener do to enter into the life of someone, little Gia or teenage Gia that was
I could go back and tell myself.
Yeah, if was going through these things or something even now. It's like, what can someone tangibly do to just show that love when you're feeling that way?
So I think one really important thing is to not focus on the negative, not focusing on what's going wrong, but also putting it on paper. So I was going through a hard time in May.
Okay. And
so I created like a prayer jar, right? And you don't have to do a prayer jar, you could do whatever it might be, but writing it down, right? Mm-hmm. This is something that I truly believe helps. So let's say you're a teenager and you haven't come out to your parents yet, or aunt, uncle, whoever it might be, and you want it to go okay. Write it down and just say what you want, put it on a piece of paper, fold it away, and just say, this is it. This is what it's going to be, and move forward. You just continue on. You just have to keep going. You just put one foot in front of the other. So I wrote on May 11th, 2019. This is like right after my divorce and everything. And I was just having a really hard time. And I hadn't really connected with my current girlfriend. So on May 11th, and I had a lot of anger, like a ton of anger. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I don't want this anger anymore. Here, take it, LOL. And I was like, I'm done. Yeah. And then my first journal entry says, Dear Journal, first off, this is stupid. Who writes in journals these days? This book isn't even a journal. It was supposed to be some motivational shit with positive words and good vibes. Well, F that. Side note, I am very happy and I think positivity is the best thing in the world. No sarcasm. And then I got over all of my anger, right? Mm-hmm. And then in September, I wrote, Dear Journal, thanks for not getting upset at me, even though I called you stupid last entry. And then talked about all the positive things in my life. So honestly, I think the best thing to do is just write down something that mm-hmm. you want for your future, something positive, or take away the negative, mm-hmm. and just reflect on it. Reflect on it in 3 months, 6 months, see where your life goes, So, whether you're that kid that's 18 that just doesn't want to come out of the closet and tell your parents that, hey, I'm a lesbian, just write it down, say you're going to do it, and then just go do it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good challenge for somebody that's not in your situation and wanting to have someone right. like you in their life is write that down. It's like, I want to be a friend to
right.
someone that is homosexual.
Yeah.
I want to, like we did here, I want to understand where they came from and just get to know them as a person. I want to see the positivity in them. I want to just be in their life and learn and understand, not to fix, not to argue, not to
right.
whatever, but just God created them too.
Yeah.
Especially if that's what you believe. You know what I mean?
Right. And don't just
see
assume the worst of people, or, I'm not assumably a lesbian. Like, first glance, you don't really know, so get to know somebody, not just based off of looks, but genuinely get to know somebody and get to know who they are. The rest does not matter.
Yeah. I agree. I think it was good. I like your notebook, your jars, your papers. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's really good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
I appreciate you being vulnerable with childhood all the way up to now and sharing things that I really believe are going to help other people that are listening to this to just say, I can have those conversations. There's got to be somebody in my life that I'm not actually pursuing that is different than me, that I can go be their friend. I can just go learn about them. They can learn about me, and I think you're better off for it.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do whether you agree with them or not. It's about challenging yourself to actually love other people equally and view them, like you said, in a positive way instead of your negative ways. So
yeah, as the good Pete the Cat says.
I love that book.
Right?
All of those books. Yeah.
All of them. No matter what you step in, just keep walking and sing your song, because it's all good.
And we're going to leave you with that. This has been the Neglected Podcast. Gia Wilson, thank you for being here. Is there any way, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and just had questions, whether it's about...
If you're struggling, suicide hotline, either that, or you can even email me.
Just anything. If somebody has, if you don't want to be, that's okay. But if there's an email or social media handle.
I for sure have an email. I mean, you can look me up you can friend request me on Facebook, Gia Wilson. Cool. That's totally fine. But even... I really don't care. You can email me all day long. It's G like George, V like Victor, IGG4@gmail.com. If you are seriously struggling and you just need some motivation, or you just need to have some common sense slapped into you, give me an email. Give me a shout.
Love it.
I'll email you back.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here. Quinn, thanks for producing. City Church, thanks for hosting. You can find us at For the Neglected, and we'll catch you next week. Peace.